You press a button, time freezes, everything stops. You feel like a god, the world is your playground. This is a terrible mistake. Within 1 nanosecond, the reality of paused physics kicks in. Your existence becomes a nightmare of sensory deprivation and sudden, violent isolation. Light ceases to travel. Photons lock in place. Eyes cannot capture frozen light. Total darkness descends instantly. Sound waves stop vibrating. The air becomes a silent, unmoving void. Ears detect nothing. You are now blind and deaf in a world of statues. Panic sets in. Attempting to move feels like pushing through thick, invisible gelatin. The atmosphere is no longer a gas. It is a solid wall of nitrogen and oxygen. Breathing becomes impossible. Air molecules are frozen in a rigid lattice. Lungs cannot pull them in. Every inhalation is like trying to breathe a brick. The oxygen already in the blood is consumed rapidly. Carbon dioxide builds up in the tissues. This is cellular asphyxiation. To move, you must physically push aside frozen air molecules. This requires immense force. The friction generates heat, because the air cannot move away to dissipate the energy. The temperature at the point of contact spikes. Your skin begins to sizzle against the stationary atmosphere. Moving a hand at walking speed creates a localized heat wave of several thousand degrees. You decide to stop moving. This solves the heat problem. Now you just sit in the dark, in absolute silence, waiting for the air to move. It does not. The silence is heavy. It is the kind of silence that makes you hear your own organs. Curiosity wins. You try to touch something, a simple poke to a frozen coffee cup. Since the cup is frozen in time, it has infinite effective mass. It cannot move. The energy of the impact has nowhere to go. It reflects back into your finger. The result is a supersonic shockwave. The skin on your fingertip vaporizes instantly. A small, high-pressure explosion ripples through your hand. The shockwave travels up your arm, shattering the radius and ulna. This is the cost of interacting with a frozen universe. Every touch is a collision with an immovable object. The physics of the pause turn the world into a minefield of indestructible, lethal anchors. Walking becomes a series of nuclear events. Each step compresses the frozen air into a plasma state. The friction between your shoes and the stationary nitrogen atoms triggers fusion. Tiny, microscopic stars ignite beneath your soles. The resulting gamma radiation cooks your internal organs from the bottom up. Your nervous system begins to fail. The air around your body becomes a shimmering cocoon of incandescent gas. This plasma shield pushes away the frozen air, creating a temporary bubble of movement. However, this bubble is essentially a continuous thermodynamic explosion. The energy released is equivalent to a small tactical nuke every few inches. You are now a walking disaster zone. You attempt to run. The velocity increases. The plasma bubble expands into a blinding sphere of fire. Every step is now a sonic boom that doesn't travel because the air is frozen. Instead, the energy builds up in a localized stress point. The ground beneath you cannot displace. The concrete of the sidewalk undergoes a phase transition. It turns to liquid, then gas, then plasma. You are essentially a relativistic projectile moving through a solid diamond. The friction generates a wake of thermal energy that melts everything in a 10-meter radius. Buildings don't collapse. They simply evaporate into a cloud of superheated atoms. The atmosphere is no longer air. It is a trail of nuclear fire. You are the only moving object in a universe of frozen, melting statues. You finally press the button to resume time. The accumulated energy is released all at once. The plasma bubble expands. The shockwaves catch up. Every nuclear fusion event from your walk detonates simultaneously. A massive multi-kiloton explosion levels the city. The resulting crater is 3 miles wide. The thermal pulse incinerates everything for leagues. Your body is vaporized in a fraction of a microsecond. There is no pain, only a sudden bright flash of white. The government investigates the disaster. They find no evidence of a bomb. However, the city council is furious. You destroyed 3 historic landmarks and a very expensive parking garage. The estate is sued for $4 trillion in property damage. The paperwork is extensive. This is why you should never touch the time button. Subscribe to the What If Club. We have more terrible ideas for you to enjoy.